The city was alive with the hum of the evening crowd. Cars honked in the distance, and the cold wind carried the scent of street food and damp concrete. Keanu Reeves walked alone, his hands tucked into the pockets of his worn leather jacket. He had always preferred blending into the world, choosing simple walks over lavish Hollywood events. Then, he saw her. A little girl, no older than 7, sat curled up on the sidewalk, wrapped in a thin, ragged blanket. Her tiny frame shivered from the evening chill, but what struck Keanu the most was the look in her eyes, not fear, not desperation, but something deeper. A quiet strength. Beside her was a small cardboard sign, its words hastily written in shaky letters. Hungry. Mom is sick. Need help. Keanu's steps slowed. He had seen homelessness before. Too much of it, but something about this child made his chest tighten. He crouched down, offering a warm, gentle smile. Hey there, he said softly. What's your name? The girl hesitated before whispering, Lily. She pulled her blanket tighter around her, as if unsure whether to trust him. Keanu reached into his pocket and pulled out some cash. But before he could hand it to her, Lily did something unexpected. She studied his face carefully, tilting her head slightly. A moment passed, then another. Then, her small voice trembled as she said, You look like my dad. Keanu froze. The words hit him like a wave, knocking the air from his lungs. He blinked, caught off guard. Your dad? He asked, his voice quieter now. Lily nodded. He left before I was born. But Mom always said I look like him. Keanu swallowed hard, his mind racing. Something about the way she spoke, the way she looked at him, it stirred something deep inside. Your mom, he said carefully, what's her name? Lily hesitated, then whispered, Samantha. Keanu's entire world tilted. A name from his past. A name he hadn't heard in over 8 years. His breath caught in his throat as he stared at the little girl before him. Could it be? Could Lily be his daughter? Keanu's heart pounded in his chest. He felt as if time had stopped, the noise of the city fading into a distant hum. Samantha. A name he hadn't heard in years. A name tied to memories he thought were buried, but never forgotten. He looked at Lily, her wide eyes filled with innocent curiosity. Your mom, he said slowly, trying to keep his voice steady. Samantha. What's her last name? Lily hesitated for a moment, as if trying to remember, then whispered, Harper. Keanu's breath caught in his throat. Samantha Harper. His mind flashed back, to a time before fame, before Hollywood, when he was just a young man struggling to find his way. Samantha had been his first love, the woman who had made him believe in forever. But life had pulled them apart. And now, standing before him, was a little girl who might be his daughter. His fingers clenched into his palm as he tried to process the moment. How long has it been just you and your mom? He asked carefully. Lily lowered her gaze. Forever, she mumbled. It's always just been me and Mom. She says my dad was a good person, but he had to leave. Keanu felt a pang of guilt grip his chest. Had Samantha thought she was protecting him? Had she believed he was better off not knowing? His voice was barely above a whisper. Where is your mom now? Lily's face fell. She's sick. She's at the shelter, but they say she needs medicine. We don't have enough money. Keanu's jaw tightened. She had been struggling all this time, and he had never known. A deep resolve settled in his heart. He had to see her. Lily, he said gently, reaching out his hand. Take me to her. Lily's small fingers curled around his, and for the first time that night. She smiled. As they began walking, Keanu felt his world shifting beneath him. He had spent so many years lost in his own journey, but now, in this moment, he realized. Maybe his most important journey was just beginning. Keanu walked through the dimly lit streets, his hand still holding Lily's small fingers. He could feel the warmth of her grip, fragile yet steady, as if she had learned to be strong despite the hardships she faced. As they neared the homeless shelter, his heart pounded with anticipation and unease. What would he say to Samantha? Would she even want to see him? Lily led him through the front entrance, past rows of weary faces wrapped in blankets, their eyes filled with quiet suffering. The shelter smelled of damp clothes and stale air, but it was also filled with the soft murmurs of people clinging to hope. She's over here, Lily said, pulling him toward a small cot in the corner. There, Lying weakly against a pillow, was Samantha Harper. Keanu's breath caught in his throat. She looked so different from the last time he had seen her. Her once vibrant face now thin and weary, her eyes sunken with exhaustion. But even through the struggle, she was still Samantha, the woman who had once meant the world to him. Her eyes fluttered open at the sound of their footsteps. She blinked, trying to focus on Lily, and then, on him. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Samantha's lips parted slightly in disbelief. Her voice was barely a whisper. Keanu. Keanu felt a lump form in his throat. Samantha. I didn't know. A single tear slipped down her cheek. I never wanted to burden you, she said weakly. You had a whole life ahead of you. I didn't want to hold you back. Keanu shook his head. You should have told me. I would have been there. His voice cracked. I would have been there for both of you. Samantha let out a trembling breath. I was scared. She glanced at Lily, who was watching the exchange with wide, innocent eyes. But I never lied to her about you. I told her you were a good man. Keanu knelt beside the cot, gently taking Samantha's frail hand in his own. You don't have to do this alone anymore, he whispered. I'm here now. Samantha's eyes shimmered with emotion as she squeezed his hand. And for the first time in years, despite the pain, despite the struggles, she knew she wasn't alone anymore. Keanu held Samantha's frail hand, his heart aching at how much she had endured alone. The weight of the years apart, of the struggles she had faced, pressed down on him like an unbearable force. Lily sat beside her mother, watching the exchange with quiet hope. She didn't fully understand the depth of what was happening, but she could feel the change in the air. Samantha's voice was weak but steady. I never wanted you to find out this way, she murmured. Not like this. Keanu shook his head. None of that matters now, he said firmly. What matters is getting you the help you need. Samantha gave him a sad smile. It's been hard, Keanu. Every day has been a fight. She glanced at Lily, brushing a strand of hair from her daughter's face. But she's the reason I kept going. Keanu's gaze softened as he looked at Lily. This little girl, his daughter, had survived so much with nothing but love and resilience. He turned back to Samantha. You don't have to fight alone anymore. I'll take care of everything. Samantha's eyes glistened. I don't want pity, Keanu. I don't want charity. This isn't charity, he said gently. This is family. Tears spilled from Samantha's eyes, and for the first time in years, she let herself lean into the comfort of someone who truly cared. Keanu reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. We're getting you to a hospital tonight. No more waiting. Samantha hesitated but nodded, exhaustion evident in her posture. Lily looked up at Keanu, her small voice breaking the silence. Does this mean we're going to be okay? Keanu knelt down, meeting her gaze. I promise, he said softly. You and your mom will never have to go through this alone again. Lily threw her arms around him, and Keanu felt an overwhelming sense of purpose, a feeling he hadn't known he was missing. As the paramedics arrived, helping Samantha onto a stretcher, she reached out and squeezed Keanu's hand one last time. Thank you, she whispered. Keanu met her gaze with quiet determination. This is just the beginning. And for the first time in a long time, hope filled the air. The hospital room was quiet except for the steady beeping of monitors. Samantha lay in a proper bed now, her face no longer etched with exhaustion but with relief. Lily sat beside her, holding her hand, while Keanu stood near the window, watching the sun rise over the city. It had been a long night. Doctors had stabilized Samantha, ensuring she got the care she desperately needed. She was still weak, but the worst had passed. Samantha turned her head toward Keanu, her voice soft. I still can't believe you're here. Keanu turned, his eyes filled with warmth. I should have been here sooner. She gave him a faint smile. You didn't know. He walked over and knelt beside the bed, his gaze shifting to Lily. The little girl, so full of quiet strength, looked at him with hopeful eyes. What happens now? She asked. Keanu reached for her tiny hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. Now, we start fresh. You and your mom won't have to struggle anymore. I'll make sure of it. Samantha's eyes welled with tears. Keanu, I don't want you to feel obligated. He shook his head. This isn't obligation. It's family. I want to be here. I want to be a father to Lily. And I want to help you get back on your feet. A single tear slipped down Samantha's cheek. After all this time, you still care. Keanu smiled gently. I never stopped. Lily suddenly threw her arms around Keanu's neck, hugging him tightly. He felt his heart swell with emotions he hadn't realized he was missing. Thank you, she whispered. Keanu held her close. No more sleeping on the streets. No more wondering where your next meal will come from. You and your mom deserve more. Samantha wiped her tears, her voice full of gratitude. I don't know how to repay you. Keanu squeezed her hand. Just get better. That's all that matters. As the first golden rays of morning spilled into the room, Keanu knew this was where he was meant to be. Not on a movie set. Not on a red carpet. Here, with them, his family. A new beginning had arrived, and this time, he wouldn't miss a second of it.